So this is a follow-up to the video that I loaded, I think it was yesterday. I really uploaded that one for the people in China that I brought the engine from, just so that they could hear what it was doing, because it wouldn't build power and it kept backfiring. And they wanted to hear what it was to see if they could give me some thoughts on it. And then people gave me really helpful feedback, so I thought I'd make another video that kind of shows the whole bike and sort of everything I've done with it, and maybe someone else can help me figure out what's wrong with this thing. It's a Ice Bear trike that's actually meant to be more mobility, except we put like a Harley looking thing on the back of it. The front part's not on it right now. It's this light right here that sits on the front that was meant to have a basket on it, but it looks really cool all by itself. And you could put a milk crate or you could tie stuff to it. It's got a great headlight. I only paid, I don't know, 250 bucks for it. So, I mean, if you just look at what it's worth to have the rear wheels, tires, differential, frame, and everything, I thought that was just a real bargain. But it came with a 50 that was broken, and I had a 80 that I had built. That's right here. That works perfect. We put it in, and it started right up. It ran great. It's underpowered for riding up hills on a scooter. And then if you add the weight of this thing over here, it certainly was slower. So I changed the variator. I put in some lighter weights so that if you started on a hill, it took longer to go into a taller gear and it wouldn't get quite as tall. So I could do maybe 25 up a hill. And we're in a really hilly area, so it's all the time. The acceleration was slower. But to really ride around here, it's for my grandson. I'd like it to be able to do, 30, 35 all the time. And, you can go to the store and go to school and get a job and drive it around. It's really great. So, I did figure out how to make the modifications to go hang the 150 in the space of the 50. I had another bike with a 150, and I cut out, you can see it over here. It's this part right here, and it goes to the hanger inside on both sides. Also this thing over here. So it's a little bit offset, so I figured out how to make it all work, and I bolted it in so far in case I had to move it. If it all works great, I can weld it, but it's right here. It hangs off the top just like it's supposed to. The only thing that these hang off on the trike in the back is this one mount that they put in right here, and it goes to the shock mount. And that's in the exact same place, whether it's a 50 or 150, and it mounts the shocks separately from the frame to where this flexes down here. But the way this is mounted, the engine doesn't flex at all. The engine stays still. Just the suspension can bounce for the seat. So far I haven't had too much issue with motion because there is so little from just this little pivot point from here to here. It's got enough motion in it. So that part worked fine, but when I started it, well, first it wouldn't run at all. It had a bad spark plug, and then it just starts and it pops, and it would never really build up power. I did have to realize I have to remember to lift it up in the air, because unlike a scooter we could put on a center stand and have the tires spin, this has two tires on the ground. You got to make sure the emergency brake's off, and you got to make sure it's lifted in the air like it is now, so it'll start and run. I had to custom make an air intake tube because this hoop isn't quite as vertical as it would like to be to work. So I got the rubber coupling connectors that you get from Plumbing Supply at Lowe's, and that worked fine. To extend it to this other intake pipe, I have a little piece of PVC pipe in here just to use for like a little coupling, and then this standard air intake, air filter. And it all ended up working pretty great because I wanted to make sure I had the right back pressure from the air. And I wanted to make sure I had the right back pressure for the exhaust. So, of course, nothing matches up from a 50 to 150, but it's fine. I had this pipe here, so I took, I hope I'm pointing at something you can see, this pipe over here to here. I cut off this bracket right in there, and right now it's just sitting on it, all welded. And then I had this other pipe here with where you can unscrew the actual muffler. So I did that, and I kept cutting this until it had a good pitch, because it's got to pivot out. It can't be the normal way where it's right up the side, especially because I have the this box on top of it. So that was pretty perfect, and it's clearing the light, and there's no heat over here anyway. Any heat's going to come out of here, and it's not going to hit over there. So the first time I did it, I could tell I had a leak from the old gasket for the exhaust. Right now I left the shroud off just so I could be sure everything's working and look for leaks. There's no leak from, let's see, there's no leaks off the air intake right here, because I sprayed starter fluid in it while it's running and nothing happened. There's no leaks down here where the exhaust hooks up, because I could feel it from here, and I could before, and now there's nothing. And if it's running and you put your hand over here when it's running, you really feel the back pressure on it. When I took off the air filter while it was running, just to sort of cover it a little bit, sort of to choke it out, it grabbed my hand and sucked it in to that air intake and stalled the engine. So, you know, that part, it's not too restricted, and there's no leaks. But when you start it, I'm going to put the brake back on so I can do this with one hand. Turn the key. Dash lights up. Starts right up. Not enough to spin the tires yet, but it starts right up, and it runs perfect. Everything's fine. You know, it's still pushing against my hand. Before, if I did that, it would leak out the other end. I'm going to give it some, take off the emergency brake. It's got a brick in front of it. The choke just turned off, so that's good. I'll give it some throttle, but you'll see it might spin the tires. Under light throttle. But any more throttle than that, and it just backfires. You're never going to get more power than that. So, oh, and as far as this this gas tank, I have a correct gas tank with a fuel gauge and a vacuum shutoff. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have an issue where there wasn't good vacuum. And I had this from, I think, a Craftsman or a Murray lawnmower. So it actually fit pretty good. I put 2 bolts on it and a shut off over here, which I'll shut off afterwards, just to make sure that it was getting good fuel, and that wasn't the issue. Voltage is fine, everything's fine, but that is the best I've gotten it to run. And as you can tell, it's a pretty sweet trike. I really want to get it to go. I don't want to push to return the engine if it's me, or a component if somebody knows something. So please, in the comments, if you can think what else I could do beyond everything I said, it would be greatly appreciated. I am running a DC CDI box because I know that works. I don't even know if the one it came with was AC or DC, so I don't know if I popped it by plugging it in. But this is a performance one. I'm not using it because you'd have to adjust it, and I don't want to take a chance that that's messing anything up. This is just a regular aftermarket, good DC CDI box with No extra stuff. There's no speed limiter on it, which you don't do for a 150. This is the one I got with it, but I don't know if it's AC or DC, and I plugged it into AC and I might have popped it because it doesn't work. But this one works fine, and if I'm not looking to adjust the power curve, it's sparking fine, and everything else is working. So again, anybody has some more thoughts for me, I would gratefully appreciate it. Put them in the comments, and if I figure it out, I will do another video showing how this worked. Thanks.